on Zoom. So good morning, friends. I am Atul Khosla, your host for the day. I welcome you back to the second episode of the Yogananda Guru series, powered by Shoolini University. As you all know, every day, Monday to Saturday at 11:30 a.m., we stream to you live learnings from the Gurus on topics as varied as science, music, spirituality, and technology. So let's learn from the Gurus, friends, to make you a Guru. And that's the aspiration we have. Today, I welcome Mr. Vivek Atray, a dear friend. Vivek is an electrifying speaker, and you'll all agree with me after the session. And I'm sure you will all go back very ignited, inspired, and elated. Vivek, as I said, is a dear friend, and Vivek, thank you for being here today. Vivek is an ex-IS officer and now a full-time motivational speaker. We'd also like to know a bit about what made you leave the IS and get into motivational speaking, Vivek. Vivek is also a visiting faculty and advisor at Shoolini University. So Vivek will speak about his top 10 lessons for a successful life. He's got a very enriched life, but more importantly, he's authored a book called Finding Success Within, and he has for us today picked up his top 10 lessons. So the format for today would be getting to know Vivek, Vivek's lecture for 18 minutes, and then a Q&A. I request all of you to please participate. So let's start. So Vivek, tell us more about yourself. This big question which always intrigues me. What made you leave the IS at the peak of your career? What made you become a motivational speaker?
Thank you, Atul, for this welcome. And first of all, thank you for organizing this Yogananda Guru series. And it's a humble moment for me to be here as a guru, sort of guru, speaking on leadership and success. But the true guru is, in this case, Paramahansa Yogananda, whom I follow as well. And Shoolini University is, of course, very close to my heart. The moment I saw the Yogananda library...
I'm going to interrupt a little, Vivek. There is a feedback that you might want to speak a little louder, please.
Okay, I will do so. And so I was saying that Shoolini University is very close to my heart. And Shoolini University has this very beautiful Yogananda library, very well established. And since Dr. P.K. Khosla is also a follower of Yogananda ji and I too, and Atul Khosla, you are a great friend as well. It's a wonderful coming together of minds and hearts. So this kind of opportunity to speak about success under the banner of Shoolini University and the Guru series of Yogananda Guru series is absolutely a pleasure for me to be here. I deliver a lot of talks. You said, why did I resign from the IS and become a motivational speaker? It's a very valid question. And I do answer this question wherever I go, especially young aspirants for the civil services ask me this question. So I tell them that I served for 25 or 26 years. And I resigned when I realized that I can do more for society as a motivational speaker. And as a motivational speaker, I also feel that I am able to reach out to more people through YouTube nowadays, through Zoom, through Facebook, through Instagram, whatever I can. And I need to get this message across that there is a big picture out there. It's not about marks. It's not about money. It's not about immediate material success. It's about bigger picture. So I resigned because I realized that the bigger picture is more important. And I think I'm able to give back to society in more ways now than before. And also the next 10 years in my IS career, I would probably have been sitting in a secretariat making policies, being busy, but maybe doing some useful work. But I think this is more important now to reach out to society, inspire. So thank you for this opportunity, and I'm going to come to the topic now, Atul, and take it for about 18 minutes or so as we discussed. And then
over to you, Vivek. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Atul. So we'll talk about what is success and finding success within. Each of us is looking for success in life, but what is success actually? It's very difficult to define. In fact, if someone says that the most powerful man is the most successful man in the world, or the richest man in the world is the most successful man in the world, it doesn't work like that, because the happiest man may actually be someone else who's not as powerful or not as rich. So if you look at success, Paramahansa Yogananda himself said in his writings that a man who's very successful will always find that there's someone more successful than him. Someone who is successful in another way or successful in a unique way. So if we are craving for material success, that is, as I put it, money, marks, materialism, we will always feel unsatiated, unsatisfied, ungratified. We'll always find that we are running behind that success goal, which keeps eluding us. So if happiness is the goal of life rather than success, actually then we come to know what success means. So that success may actually come from goodwill. It may come from the fact that you have a lot of people saying good things about you behind your back, and that is the accumulation of years of hard work, of being good to others, of empathizing with others, of listening to others. So success probably comes from having achieved that state of happiness at whichever point of your journey you are. It's a very philosophical point, but I think it's important to emphasize, especially to young people, but even to not so young people now, that success truly is happiness. And if, as the gurus say, if we are able to conquer our own selves and our fears, worries, and limitations which are in our minds, the negativities, then we can be said to be truly successful. So I'm going to take up these 10 tips for success, which I find very important, and they are part of my book, Finding Success Within. The first one I'm talking about is actually seeing the bigger picture of life. So whenever we are craving for something or running after something, often it is the short-term goal that we are looking at, and we're not really focusing on the larger picture of life. And we often take steps which make us do things which we regret later. Maybe we said something to someone in the heat of the moment. Maybe we took a rash decision in the heat of the moment, or we thought that this will give us a lot of pleasure. We did something that we regret later. Actually, these fleeting pleasures, they will not last. And if we see the bigger picture, then we realize that are we really enjoying the journey? Are we really finding happiness in each day of our life? Or do we say that I'll be happy after 10 years from now, but right now I need to work very hard? That is not going to work very well, because 10 years from now, as we can see in the world, is an uncertain time. So we need to live day to day, live in the moment, prioritize our lives, and then move forward, keeping that bigger picture in mind. I mean, the saints also say that life is like a dewdrop on a leaf. So it's so uncertain. Tomorrow you don't know what way you're going to be or what's going to happen. We are faced with a global crisis like now. And somebody was saying to me in this very morning, he's saying, "Bade bade bhi past ho gaye," which means that even the mighty have fallen. So, you may be very mighty, you may be very big, you may be very successful in material terms, but if you are not content and happy from within, it's not working out for you. The next one I would the trait I would really, really emphasize is calmness of the mind. Because a lot of our battle is fought in the mind, and this mind is playing tricks on us all the time. This mind tells us this is not good for you, or that is, this guy is not good to you, or you are feeling scared of this, you should feel scared of this. So the mind keeps on piling up this pressure on us, and we often lose the battle of the mind because we are tired, we are exhausted, or we are running from pillar to post without time to reflect. So a calm mind will actually help us be more successful in life. We will not stress over things, we will not be restless, and there is something called mind wandering, which is a study these days, where the mind keeps wandering here and there, and we need to bring it back all the time to focus on what we have. And there are many concentration techniques, even those given by Yogananda, where we are able to focus on the moment. And when we focus on the moment, then our mind becomes calm. When it's always in the future or the past, we don't really know where it's gone. In a minute, it can be across the world or across time and space. So that is the second trait, bringing yourself back to the center of calmness after any activity, like the pendulum. We swing into action, but we swing back into the center of calmness once we are through with that activity, and calmness is a great trait. The third would be creative skills and being an all-rounder. So being an all-rounder is something which few people have, but you can aspire to be an all-rounder in certain things. Some people are very unidimensional in their lives, and there's no harm in being an expert at one thing, being a specialist at one thing, which is important, of course. But then there's a theory of the foxes and the hedgehogs. And if you're a hedgehog and diving deep into the ground and not really able to come up with multi-dimensional facets of your life, then you are eluding happiness, or happiness is eluding you, because the happiness that you get in that one pursuit will be limited. There will be times when a human being feels ennui or boredom from what is actually happening and is not content with what is the course of his life or her life. So the creative pursuits, in fact, that's the fourth point, creativity, which will bring us these all-round skills. And creativity could be music, could be photography, could be writing, could be art, could be art appreciation or art-based therapy, or it could be social work and NGO. It could be something you're doing on a Sunday for students. This kind of creative thinking, apart from your number crunching and your software and your management and your whatever work you are in, is something which people need to do. And then their minds feel refreshed. And I've often said that the right side of our brain, which is the creative side, is undernourished. It is underutilized. It hasn't got enough exercise in this life if we are very dull and routinized in our various actions that we do. So be creative in whatever thing you really love. It could be something close to your heart which you couldn't pursue in your student days. Now is the time to do it. Or if you're still a student, it is time to pick up as many creative aspects as you can. And being an all-rounder also means being aware of more than just your own localized situation. So if I'm from Chandigarh and I know only about Chandigarh, nothing about Finland or Kota or Chennai or any other place, or people from other countries and other races and other communities, then I'm very localized in my thinking. Being an all-rounder also means having a perspective of various situations, mindsets, backgrounds, histories. So that is something which is also very important. So I'm coming to another point which is very important for success, and that is to be a good communicator. Now, this one is a more practical kind of tip, which I would tell you that whatever level of communication skills you are at, it is important to keep improving. There is something which I often take in my workshops, and most of us watching are Indians on this video. There is something called common Indian errors. So if you go to that common Indian errors on Google, and you find out of 70 of them, you make 7 of those, and 63 you're fine. Maybe you can improve those 7. And if you can keep on improving your communication skills in some way, then you are able to become a better writer, a better speaker, a better conversationalist. And if you're a good conversationalist in this era, that means not only the ability to speak, but also the ability to listen and to empathize with the person you are with. Then you are considered to be a complete communicator. One-way communication, saying whatever you think, and then not even waiting for the other person to complete, interrupting people in mid-sentence is not the sign of a good communicator. So it has to be done in a very balanced way. Communication is vital to the cause of being successful. Then allied to that a little bit is networking skills. So networking skills mean that you are able to get along with new people, that you're able to build your network. So if you had 100 telephone numbers when you started out, and now you have about 1,000 or 2,000, that means that you have multiplied your network. And it's not only about telephone numbers or contacts, it is about the number of friends you have, the people you can draw upon when you need them, and it's also about maybe tapping into somebody who's a friend who can help you in certain things, and then also giving back to that community when your turn comes. So building a network and also building a brand for yourself is also important. So many people know you. It's an era of slickness. It's an era of smartness, being stylish. It's also an era of presentation, of promotion. So you may be very good at your work, but if you don't have a network, that network will not be aware of how good you are, or what you're doing, and then the whole world will never be aware of you. So you have to have a strong network in this era. And young people, I keep telling them, who are shy to go up to senior people and talk, the one who stands out is the one who just makes a mark by speaking out when it is required. So this is something that is really, really important. And then the next point I would say is aligned to this again is people skills. So in a company or an organization or a college or an office, you meet so many people of different kinds, and even relationships are with people, and people are not the same. So those who are successful,
Vivek, if you can hear me, we can't hear you. You just went mute. Vivek, we can't hear you.
Is feeling sad about something or is not looking himself, they are able to encourage people. The quote is that being an encourager is very important because there are so many critics out there. So we have to be an encourager. In fact, another quote is by Stan Dale, who says that I operate as if everyone in the world is my well-wisher and nobody is against me. So maybe that's a very puritanical or perfectionist way of looking at things. But certainly, if we do think that people are our well-wishers, then we will have better people skills instead of feeling, suspicious about people all the time. Of course, you have to be tough as a leader or as a colleague of someone else, but you have to be balanced and soft and encouraging at most times. Another skill I would talk about, which is the biggest skill that people have to have for success, is the larger picture of emotional intelligence. So everyone's intelligent, but very few people are able to hold their own in different kinds of company. And you should know what to say, when to say it, and how to say it, and what not to say in certain companies. So there are certain things that you cannot say in front of the children, certain things you can't say in front of the mother-in-law, some certain things you cannot say in front of the boss, and certain things you can't say in front of juniors. So you have to be aware of, even if you're scolding someone, that this person doesn't mind the scolding because he's junior to you. You have to set him, correct his work, but he minds the fact that there's someone else present at that scolding, or that person might even be junior to him. So you have to see your awareness of the situation, empathy for the other, and self-awareness is also part of emotional intelligence. Your own traits, your anger management, your management of your irritability. So are you an irritable kind of person? Are you angry most of the time, or are you calm? And are you able to withhold that expression of anger which you felt from within, but somehow were able to hold back? That is a sign of being a very calm and controlled person. Of course, you have to let off steam at times. We are all human, and at times it is okay to lose your cool. But most of the time, an emotionally intelligent person will be pretty much controlled of himself. Then the next one would be a winner's instinct. So if we are in the race for success, I'm not saying that you don't be materially successful or ambitious. You have to do well in your studies, in your career. You have to be materially well off. You have to look after your family. And there is no harm in aspiring for better and more. But that winner's instinct comes from sometimes that lack of decisiveness lets us down. And actually, we should see if we are the sorts. The Indian cricket team used to be earlier. It was said that we used to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. And whereas Australia or West Indies would be the reverse. I think India's learned their tricks now, and the cricket team is nowadays more often than not victorious. And even Indians as a whole, if we see we travel abroad when there is no virus, of course, then we go and we find ourselves to be calm, cool, confident. I also have a TEDx talk on being global, being Indian in a global era. So being Indian in a global era means that we are eating our aloo paratha and achar, and yet we are working for Google, Microsoft, or Dell, or whatever. So being comfortable in your own skin is also very, very important. And that winner's instinct comes from having a strong mind. So the battle of the mind, which I spoke about earlier, is something that we need to really win, and we need to see that it doesn't. We don't lose that battle of the mind. Then pausing and introspection is another tip that I'd like to give you. And this pausing and introspection is something which has come upon us now because of this lockdown. But most people are running through life and not pausing and not introspecting. And that is something which we need to take definite breaks, which are very important. So I'm going to wrap up these 10 skills now. And I'd just like to conclude by saying that before we have the interaction and the Q&A, so don't go away, I'd just like to wrap up by saying that if we are able to analyze and introspect and find out where our minds are usually at, are we able to, at the end of the day, improve thinking or feel nice about other people whom we might be feeling negative about? That is another way to feel successful. So ultimately, success is about happiness and not about material success. and that these are my tips and these are my points, and they're also mentioned in my book. So Atul, you're here, we can have an interaction now. This book is called Finding Success Within. It's 52 life skills for young. Yes, sir.
So, before we get into the audience's Q&A, so please keep writing your questions for me to raise them to Vivek. Vivek, I have one of the teachers online. His name is Dr. N.T. Ramarao. And he says hello to you and tells us that he's happy to inform us that you were at NITE with him and you were his student. So you've also got a guru here, your guru on a Guru Series talk.
Wonderful to have him. Wonderful to see you, sir.
So before I get into the Q&A from the audience, I was intrigued by one thought. Normally, when we talk about skills, normally when we think about skills, most people think about technical skills. For example, if you look at NSDC or you look at any initiatives by institutions or the government, they talk about technical skills, whether they are computer skills or other skills which are related to the technical side of it. But I didn't hear you talking about technical skills for success. Did I miss something, or in your opinion, softer skills are more critical than technical skills?
No, I think you're absolutely right. Most of the organizations and the government focus on technical skills, and those are a given. They are basic. They are very much required. As I said, you have to specialize in something. That means they have to have those skills. But you're absolutely right. I didn't talk about those because they are known by society, and everyone knows that they have to study and work in a particular field. But these skills which I'm talking about are not taught anywhere in any university. Even our schools have a few sessions of life skills at some places, but life skills are more important in the ultimate analysis. And even like I'm an engineer, I studied engineering from NIT Kurukshetra. Now as an administrator for 25 years or as a motivational speaker, there are very few of those technical skills that I'm using. And very few people actually, even engineers, are actually using what they studied in college. So it is something that has enabled them to think logically. But these larger skills, Atul, are very, very important. The emotional intelligence part, the way to speak, the way to keep your calm mind, and to keep upgrading yourself and keep learning all the time, as Dr. Dinesh Singh said so eloquently yesterday.
So, clearly you laid out very well, Vivek, 10 things in your opinion, but 10 is still too many for someone like me. I'm a simple man. I find it difficult to work with complexity. Tell me 3 things that I should do. 3 things that you think are the most important for you.
I think the 3 C's might be good for you then, or someone who's just focusing on 3 at a time. In fact, there's no harm in focusing on 1 at a time. So the 3 C's that I would pick as the top are calmness, creativity, and communication. 3 skills, if you have the skill to be calm, the skill to be creative, or to bring out that creativity from within, and to be a good communicator, these would be absolutely essential.
I can associate with calmness. I'm not the most calm person. Some of my colleagues would know, but I'm learning to be calm. I'm getting into meditation and a bit of yoga. So I think that's the whole thesis that we have in the series that we have, the Yogananda series. Everyone is encouraged to get into meditation. I think the calmness comes in. I'll open it up now for Q&A from people. I've got a bunch of questions over here. The first is from Rohit Goyal, and Rohit is asking us, saying, there's always a comparison in competition. And whenever we compete, after succeeding, we compare ourselves with a neighbor. And many times it brings in depressive behavior and negativity. So what do you do in this sort of a situation? How do you stop comparing, but still be competitive?
Yeah, in fact, this is a very good question because parents especially keep comparing their children with others. And I have met a lot of children who are depressed because of their parents comparing them with others. Parents must stop doing that. And comparisons are odious, that's the saying. So when you compare with someone else, then you're not fighting your own battle, you are actually fighting his battle or trying to reach the level which that person is at. So basically life is about winning your own battle, winning your mind, winning yourself. So if we compare, there's no end to it. And our own achievement is what matters to us. So for example, the neighbors have bought a new television set. This used to be the thing earlier. And this particular family is not able to afford that. So that pressure multiplies on the minds of this family, which is not really what life is about. Life is your own journey. If your own radio set is giving you happiness and you don't have a TV, or in today's world you don't have the latest iPhone, you have an old handset, it's absolutely fine for you to be like that. As long as you're simple, you're nourished properly, you're living in a wholesome environment. So I think comparisons need to be reduced. It is difficult as a human being to avoid them totally, but we must work on reducing comparisons.
Let's hope we can implement this one. I think it's so relevant in today's world, Vivek. Mr. Anonymous, that's the name he has, is asking us, you've spoken about building a good network. All sounds good, but how do you build a good network? How do I start?
Yeah, so in fact, today it's very important to be on LinkedIn, I think, and I'm coming to the specifics of network building. In a professional career, if you're not on LinkedIn, it is very, very important to build up your LinkedIn database, your contacts, because Facebook and Twitter and Instagram will give you only so much networking of the kind that you want. Of course, it is good to be socially connected with people and to balance your social media usage, of course. Youngsters live on Instagram these days. I find myself living on Instagram a lot of my life these days, where I need to control it. But LinkedIn really gives me that networking. Secondly, whenever you go to a conference or whenever you go to an occasion where there are new people, it is a good idea to keep on meeting new people in that gathering rather than having a deep conversation with one person. I mean, even that may be important for your life and career, but to be on the lookout to meet new people and to exchange cards, to exchange numbers, and then to keep in touch with those people. That is the way you build your network. If you're seen speaking somewhere, or if you're seen writing something, then also you build your network. So there are ways to do it without even physically meeting people.
So my tip to Mr. Anonymous would be to say, stop writing Mr. Anonymous. Have the confidence of writing a name. You can start with that. So I love to have your name. You can change it right now, and you can start your networking with Vivek.
Yeah, you would have built your network right away by writing your name. We would have all known about it.
Fantastic. Arvind has got a very interesting question. Arvind is asking that, students, when they're in school, do a lot of extracurricular activities and they're building life skills. But something changes when they come to college. For some reason, they take a back seat when it comes to extracurriculars. As a teacher, how do I motivate my students to continue to participate in extracurriculars and other interesting things?
I think it's a very good point again. In our culture, it is somehow seen that, kids are meant to play and do other kinds of things. But once you grow up, then you're supposed to be very serious about your career and forget about other activities. Even ladies and gents who used to play till school level, some sports or some music or dance or theater, they used to be participating. They also veer off. So it is something that needs to be injected into our culture. And I think younger generations are more amenable to this kind of extracurricular activity. And maybe it needs to be made compulsory also in colleges, that you have to pick up at least 2 activities apart from your school. For example, in Missouri, where IAS officers are trained, it is important to be horse riding. It is important to do yoga. It is also important to go and attend various cultural musical programs. So it is not an option. And then you become necessarily an all-rounder.
Fantastic. Srinath is asking us, students focus on materialism and you've covered it, but how do you ensure that we can take materialism away from the students to some extent, from the young generation to some extent? Your definition of success, how do we make them attune to your definition of success?
Yeah, so it's actually the example that they see. So when they watch movies, the hero is somebody who's gunning for material success, which is fine. I guess it's a movie. In life, if they see achievers who are talking only about material success and money, so it has to be a balance. Someone like Bill Gates, if you look at him and you listen to him, he's talking about charity, he's talking about empathy, he's talking about the world nowadays, how this crisis is to be handled. You look at Azim Premji, you look at Narayan Murthy, you look at Ratan Tata, look at the leaders of the industry who have empathy for others. Whereas someone like Jeff Bezos, I mean, just talking of specifics, is someone who's just learning this art of empathy. Whereas his company has grown so big now, he is not yet into that kind of balanced outlook. But with time, everyone develops it. As a student, I guess it's okay to be aspiring for that better job and that better career, and that's fine. but they need to just balance it by an 80-20 maybe ratio. That 20% should be a little looking at the bigger picture and for inner peace and success. And Atul mentioned meditation. Those who start meditating in school and college are going to be very much more successful than those who don't. Even CEOs who meditate are more successful. Harvard studies tell us that.
So that's a question that Vipin was asking, saying, does meditation help in achieving success? And I think you answered that, but then he asked us, can you give tips on meditation? How to get initiated?
Yeah, so I'm not a meditation guru, but I'm a learner myself. You see this book, Autobiography of a Yogi, lying next to me. I follow this book, I follow the teaching. So the website that you need to note, and we can probably share it with you, is yssofindia.org. yssofindia.org. That's Yogoda Satsang Society of India.org, YSS of India. So basically there you will find tips for meditation. And one little practice that I make people do, and it's a very simple one, is to close your eyes, focus here, and just notice your breath coming in and out. You can do this many times a day whenever you have a little break or a little pause. You just control your mind and your thoughts by focusing on your breath without controlling the breath. That in itself is a simple little meditation technique which can be built up upon if you learn more techniques. And I must tell you, because it's an inspirational video where I must share my own inspirations. I meditate 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour at night. So even when I was Deputy Commissioner of Panchkula, I used to do that. So there's no excuse to not meditate. Even if you can do 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening to start with, it's perfectly fine and will help.
I can definitely vouch that, Vivek, it helps the skin and the glow on the face. It shows on yours. So I think if not for success, we should do it for how we look, for sure. I want to take just 2 more questions. I think we're running a little out of time. 2 more minutes, Vivek. And I'll pose both of them together. So Ashu is asking a question. She's saying, can you give us a specific example? You've spoken about some skills. Can you give us a specific example of someone who's displayed these skills in today's times of the corona pandemic? So that's a question. So she wants to get some specific examples from your experience. And 2-3 people are asking, Amar and a couple of others are asking, how to get the big picture? What's the best way to find the big picture? What's the big picture? So I think I'll have you answer these 2 questions and then we'll have to go off, I guess. We're running out of time.
Yeah. Sure, Atul. So Ashu's question, I think the leaders I named, Narayan Murthy is someone who's inspired me. He exemplifies these values details. I've seen him, and it is said that he stands in the queue at the mess of Infosys even today as a mentor of the company. I've met him a couple of times, and I noticed that despite being such a capable industry leader with so much stature, very down to earth, and his wife Sudha Murthy, you know how she is and the foundation that they have. These are examples I can think of. Even the Ratan Tata example, Azim Premji, Bill Gates, whom I mentioned, also very inspiring leaders. And from government, there are people in the IAS who are striving very hard to control this situation at the moment. They're working at the front line. They're not losing their cool and calm. And they're the police, the health workers. I think they are great heroes at this time as well. And to answer the question of Amar and all on the bigger picture, I think the bigger picture basically means that life is short. And life is something which is, let's say, from 0 to 70 or 0 to 80, let's say, we have to live this many years. Or let's say 90, 95, we have people nowadays even touching 100. Now, what is to be done in these years? I mean, if we look at the fact that fame is temporary, even riches are temporary, and power is temporary, authority is temporary, then this cannot be the achievement of life. I mean, if we are going to acquire a post or a position and then we have to lose it one day, then that cannot be the permanent outcome of life. So the bigger picture has to be that we spend our life finding happiness within and sharing and spreading that happiness to others. So that is the bigger picture which I feel for myself. And if you have done an honest job of your career and earned goodwill and loved people who you should have loved, spent time with your family. And in fact, ultimately, I'd like to say at the end that spending time with family, which has come as a kind of a Zabardasti situation right now, is something which people have to prioritize and spend more time with loved ones who matter.
I think before we close, there's one very relevant question from Karishma, so I'm tempted to ask that. I'll take a minute more. I
Yes.
hope you guys don't mind. The question is, communication skills are very critical, but how do I improve my communication skills? I think it's very relevant for the young students on this chat. I would love to hear
Yes.
you, Vivek.
Yes, so I'll give you two tips to start with. Firstly, you have to keep your writing skills have to also be part of communication skills. Keep practicing writing 2 pages every day and get them evaluated by someone. Keep improving your writing skills, written skills, and your oral skills will improve if you, as I often tell youngsters, make 2 people or 5 people or 3 people sit down, maybe your younger brother, sister, some friend whom you will give a chocolate to later because he's listening to you. Make them listen to you for 3 to 4 minutes on a particular topic that could be close to your heart in Hindi, in English, Punjabi, whatever. Just communicate, just orate, just speak, just go on speaking for 3 minutes. Tell them what you feel. You will come out with your innovations and you will improve. And communication is not about vocabulary. You don't have to use difficult words to be a great communicator. You have to be lucid and clear, and your voice has to be heard, and you have to be precise also. So these are great traits of good communicators. I think if you set aside time every day for improving your skills in communication, you will get there.
Thank you, Vivek. Karishma, one tip from me. Why don't you start a webinar, do a 10-minute webinar. It's extremely difficult speaking to a camera. You might learn in the process. Well, thank you, Vivek. This has been such an enriching discussion. I learned a lot. Lots of questions from the audience. We'll try to come back to you with Vivek's answers. We will post them on Facebook and YouTube. So once again, Vivek, thank you very much. I will ask you to give one last thought, 1 minute of last thought before we close. Keep it crisp, one sentence.
Sure. The last thought is stay connected, stay happy from within, and find inner peace. That is really what we're searching for more than material success.
Thank you. And once again, have a great day. See you everyone tomorrow, 11:30. We'll be talking about Bollywood music for a change. So learn about the evolution of Bollywood music and see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Atul. Thank you, everyone. It's been great to be here.